Hi everybody, welcome to my YouTube channel where I talk about all things personal development and relationships. If you have not done so already, please subscribe to my channel and click that notification bell to be notified every single time I upload every single Monday. So as you can tell by the title, I'm going to be talking about my baptism experience. To be honest with you, I am so excited to do this video because this is a personal development channel and my foundation for my own personal development journey and my spiritual journey is God. So before I get into my actual baptism, I thought it was really important for me to kind of talk about my history with God and like just to give you guys a little bit of insight. I have talked about like church and you know, certain things around that topic on my channel. I feel like this is so loud. Like I said, I just want to give a little bit of background. So I grew up in church and my mom was a Sunday school teacher. My dad is still a deacon. And so I was in church a lot growing up, like honestly, 6 days a week sometimes. And I absolutely hated it. I could not stand that church. The foundation of that church was absolute trash. Ever since I was a little kid, I always questioned. I'm a very intuitive person, and to be honest with you, I have a really old soul. So I was the type of kid that I was like in the corner analyzing everything. I always asked a lot of questions. And so the way that church was structured and just the way that was the only kind of church I was exposed to as a kid. So even when I visited other churches, it was very similar to the church that I grew up in. So I've always been very like critical of traditional church. I always wanted to be close to God. Even as a kid, I knew that God was about love and about forgiveness and understanding, but it was always like, as far as the church setting that I went to and just what I was exposed to in reference to God was always condemnation. It was always judgment. It was always you're gonna go to hell. It was always the negative side of religion. As a little kid, I just had a ton of questions that never got answers. So at that point, I was only doing things to get brownie points or get points in general to get to heaven. Like I was doing good deeds, but doing them for the sake of being closer to heaven, if that makes sense. I didn't necessarily do things out of the kindness of my heart. It was more so, if I don't do this, I'm gonna go to hell. You know, it was very, I don't want to say militant, but I was just going through the motions basically. And I knew that I wanted to have that emotional connection to God, but I had never seen it and I just didn't really know where to start. So I ended up getting baptized when I was like 12 because I just felt like, to be honest with you, I think it was honestly because a lot of other people were doing it. I think that I just wanted to do it just because. And so I didn't really understand what I was doing, you know? So fast forward to college, I would say probably like my first year of college. That's when I started to rebel. I never got super wild or anything, but I started to do things kind of out of my character because I felt like being in church for so long, everything I did was like a one-way ticket to hell. So I was just so afraid of like, don't get me wrong, I was not a perfect kid. I did some things as a teenager, you know what I'm saying? But like for the most part, I was very timid and scared of everything. Yeah, I was just a very nervous child. I was nervous, I was scared, I was timid because I was just afraid like, oh my God, I'm gonna go to hell, you know? So like I was saying, fast forward to about college, like first year of college, I started to do things that I wouldn't normally do because I just felt like I was suffocating. I felt like I was trapped. And I think that's the problem I have with religion. People take something so beautiful, something that should be a choice, and they force it down your throat and then it becomes an obligation. I was just all over the place in college. Aside from meeting my friends and from a couple of experiences here and there, college was actually pretty bad for me. I would say that's when I was the most detached from God. I felt like if I got close to God, then I would be missing out on something, or to be honest with you, and this is based on my upbringing and just like what I was exposed to, I felt like if I got close to God, then my life was just gonna be boring. I felt like I wasn't gonna be able to have any fun. I felt like my life was just gonna be controlled. So my theory was in college to just get whatever I needed to get out of my system, and then I'll come to God. I'll come crawling to God later when I'm tired and I'm ready to just have a boring life. Now that I'm saying it out loud, that sounds kind of crazy, but that's pretty much what my thought process was. Like I said, I wanted to be close to God, just didn't know how, I guess. 2016, I started praying this very specific prayer of pretty much abundance, not just in money, but abundance in love, abundance in favor, abundance in knowledge and wisdom, and I wanted an abundant life. And I can't really remember exactly the words that I used, but that was like the essence of the prayer. And I started praying that in 2016 because that was the year where I experienced the worst heartbreak of my entire life. And I was just at a very low point in my life. And I knew, like I said, when I was a little kid, I always knew that there was more to life and all of that. So in 2016, I sort of revisited that. I got back to that place of being a little kid, of just knowing that there's more to life. And even though I'm in this like really dark place, held on to the faith of knowing that at some point my life would get better. 2018, I would say, is when I really started to notice tiny little shifts in my life. I started to get more organized, and I started to keep a clean car. I started to get into yoga more. Little tiny subtle shifts in my life started in 2018. In 2019, I started journaling, and just over time, the little tiny shifts in my life started to compound on top of each other. But it was also because I was starting to very, very slowly get closer to God. Like, I was starting to pray more and to be more invested, like not as much as I am now, but baby steps. Like I was starting that process of gaining a little bit of momentum. And then in 2018, I was introduced to the church that I go to now. That really propelled my momentum as far as getting closer to God, because I was finally in an environment where I actually felt God's presence. Like, people smiled when you walked in the building. It was just, and I understand that there's no church that's perfect. Nobody's perfect. No preacher is perfect. I'm not perfect. Will never be perfect. Nobody is perfect, but you can't fake energy. I was actually paying attention to the preacher. Like, I knew what the sermons were about. Like, when I was a kid and I was in church, I would be on my phone. The only reason why I was there, especially after I had become an adult, because I left the church that I grew up in, I left that church when I was 25. And as an adult, like, I was just there because I felt like being in church, I was gonna get brownie points to get to heaven. So I never paid attention, never took notes, never none of that. The church that I go to now, I take notes and I'm really invested. And it's not just that church. I mean, that church is such a blessing to me, but it's not that church. It's my relationship to God. I actually crave God's presence, and I'm seeking God. I'm reading my Bible without feeling obligated to. I pray without feeling obligated to. What was an obligation has now turned into a choice, has turned into a preference, has turned into an I get to. Like, it used to be an I have to, because if I don't, I'm gonna go to hell. And now I look at it as I get to worship God. I get to be connected to the creator of the universe. Like, I get to do that. I was also super reluctant to get close to God because I have a very upbeat and bubbly, goofy, colorful personality, and I'm not a judgmental person. Now, don't get me wrong, I am an individual, and I do have boundaries, and I do agree with some things, and I don't agree with other things, just like anybody else. But I'm a non-judgmental person. I'm a very loving, welcoming, understanding person. I really try my best to approach things with curiosity and not judgment. And I just felt like before, when I wasn't as close to God, I felt like my personality wasn't aligned with religion. I don't know about you guys' experience, but like I said before, like, my experience was Christians are judgmental. They're mean. you know, all of that. Like, you know, I don't even gotta go down the list. You guys know what I'm talking about. And I just felt like my personality doesn't align with that. So am I really a Christian? And absolutely. Now that I look at my relationship with God as something I get to do and not as something I have to do, my life improves. And so last week on August 8th, I decided to rebaptize, and my friends were there, my family was there, and it was just a beautiful experience because it really felt like the old version of me had died in the water. Honestly, I needed to make a public declaration of my love for God, and it feels really good. It really does. It really makes me sad that people run away from God because they feel like they're not like holy enough for him, or they feel like they're gonna lose out or miss out on fun, or you know, they, for whatever reason. And it's so much better on this side because peace is something that you can't buy. And in my opinion, I think that being rooted in something bigger than yourself, being rooted in God, is what's gonna give you that peace. You do not have to be a judgmental, miserable butthead, okay, to be a Christian, because I'm not that. I wanted to make this video because, one, I just wanted to share my story, but the real reason why I wanted to make this video is because I am so passionate about personal growth and personal development, and honestly stress the importance of being rooted in something bigger than you while on your personal development journey, because if not, all of it is gonna be in vain. One of the many things that I've learned on this journey is that there will always be gaps that need to be filled, and your human self cannot fill those gaps. The basis of your personal development journey is faith, and you have to have faith in order to grow. You cannot grow without faith, but how do you have faith unless you're rooted in something bigger than you? My goal for me and for whoever is in earshot of hearing what I'm saying, like, my goal for all of us isn't to be obligated to have a relationship with God. I want to help people reframe the obligation and turn it into an I get to. And once you have that mindset, I'm telling you, your life is going to take off. You're still gonna have issues, you're still gonna have problems and all of that. Don't strive for perfection. You're never gonna be perfect. You're gonna have bad days. You're gonna have an attitude sometimes. Sometimes, you know, you're not gonna be in the best mood. You're gonna snap at somebody in Target. You're still going to be human. So don't feel like you have to be perfect to, you know, love God or to align yourself with God. In fact, he wants you to come to him when you're not perfect, because then he can really flex his muscles and show you, I got you. When you come to God unpolished or unperfect, or, you know, feeling however you feel, that's the perfect time to come to God, because in those moments when we're at our lowest, that's when God shines the brightest. Don't feel like you have to be perfect or none of that to come to God, because he loves you. He made you, like, he loves you. I know this video is super long. That's the condensed version of sort of my history with religion and with God and all of that. There's so much more to the story, but that's the meat and potatoes. So I really hope that you guys enjoyed, I guess you can call it a story time. Let me know what your experience has been with, you know, God, or with being baptized. Like, have you been baptized? I'd really love to know your experience. Please don't forget to subscribe to my channel, like this video, and I will see you guys in next week's video. Here's a video of me getting baptized.
Bless you. Next is Taylor Mosley. Woo! Taylor, we're so proud of you. Bless your heart. Taylor's family, our fan club, is with us as well. We're so glad you're here. Taylor, my sister, we baptize you in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Bury the old self, raised to newness of Christ. Bless you. Next we have Angela Jones. Angela, we're so proud of you. We're so thankful for you and all you do. Angela, my sister, we baptize